A dangerously incompetent tank review of the FV4202P Premium British Medium Tier 8 tank. When it was first introduced, a lot of reviewers gave this tank a real panning. It had bad gun handling and poor mobility. But as of 9.14, Wargaming gave it a buff. They gave it better terrain resistances and better gun handling. So if you're looking at any other reviews of this tank and they say it's awful, then they're probably reviewing it as of before it got buffed. So look out for that. And as for how it does now, well, you almost got me. You'll have to wait till the end of the review to find that one out. Starting with armour. See my armour review for more details, but basically it's pretty poor. On the level, your turret doesn't do much, it's quite thin. On the hull, it's very thin. Sides and rear are bad, as you expect from a medium tank, and the turret doesn't do too well. However, when you start using the 10 degrees of gun depression, the hull gets better, the turret gets quite a bit better, and it edges up to okay performance on the armour, apart from this gap in the armour either side of the gun, which is a weak spot which the enemy can always get at if they're looking at your front. So overall I would rate this armour as poor. It's reasonable when you get to crest fighting with your arse down and your nose up, but otherwise very poor. Even if you get your hull down, your turret is still weak, so you really don't want to go fighting in cities, even if you find some rubble to hide your hull. Mobility. Well, the first thing you'll notice is its top speed of 35 kilometers an hour. That's really slow. That's slower than the Super Pershing at 40. Why is it so slow? And that's speed limited. It can on the flat or downhill it can easily get faster than that, but no. Its specific power is quite low at 12.17. Higher than Super Pershing at 9.82, but quite low compared to everything else. So it doesn't accelerate very nicely. Its terrain resistances are quite good though, and its track traverse 40 degrees quite good. So it twists and turns quite happily, but it doesn't accelerate happily or go up hills happily, and it certainly is not fast enough to flex from one end of the field to the other. So forget flexibility, forget your breakthroughs, forget you haven't got the armour for brawling, but you got the twisty turny for brawling. And it's a real pain when you get into the seagull part of the battle, when most of the enemy team is dead and everyone on your team is rushing after and going mine, 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 mine. That's when you tend to make a lot of profit on tanks and lots of XP, but you're so slow, you're trundling off, you're slower than all your teammates, you're not getting the shots, you're not getting the final kills, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. The other thing about your speed and low acceleration is you tend to use this tank crest fighting, and when you pop up in the same place again and again and again, artillery will take an interest in you, and you're not fast enough to dodge it really. Another problem. Gun. This gun is pretty good. It's got decent accuracy. There, reasonable rate of fire, good penetration, reasonable damage, aim times on the long side. Overall, pretty nice gun to use. Typical British medium gun. In fact, I believe it's the same as the Centurion 1's gun. So, quite happy with that gun. That's a good gun. Not awesome alpha damage, but everything else is nice. Camouflage, it's a medium, but it's quite big. Its camouflage ain't great. Other stuff, view range 390, quite nice. I went with the coated optics to bump me over the 440. But if you were running with tea and cake, the ration pack consumable, then you could probably do without the coated optics. As long as you got 100% crew, that'll probably give you enough to get the 440 range, so you got another slot free in the old equipment. Oh, gun depression. I have mentioned this, but when I'm doing the gun, you should mention gun depression. Total traverse is quite fast enough. Gun depression 10 degrees is quite good. It's not the best, but it's pretty good, and it's certainly enough for most positions where you want to crest fight. And that's what you want to do with this tank. Back of your tank down, front of your tank up. Lower glacis hidden by the hill, so all they can see is this slopey and your gun. Of course, that does leave that weak spot either side of the gun being seen. But you can wiggle your turret around a bit, and don't forget to get out of dodge quickly if there's artillery around. Equipment, what would I run with this tank? I didn't use the ration pack consumable, tea and cake, because it doesn't improve what this tank is weak at. Its gun is good enough. The ration pack doesn't improve your speed or doesn't do much for your power ratio, your specific power, so it doesn't help the handling. It doesn't help your armor improve, and I don't need it for the view range, so I didn't run with it. So I saved myself 10,000 a battle. So standard large repair kits, first aid kit, automatic fire extinguisher. In the equipment line, it can take vertical stabilizers, so you fit vertical stabilizers. I put in coated optics to get the full view range, full 40, so you don't need binocular telescopes. And then it's a choice really of medium gun rammer or the enhanced gun laying drive. So faster rate of fire or faster aiming. I went for the faster loading. You've got plenty of ammunition. Your rate of fire is okay, but it's always good to have more speed. If I was putting them in again, I would probably edge towards the gun laying drive, because the aiming time is quite long for those long shots. But it's a choice. Where do you do most of your shooting? At long range or short range? And if you're running with the tea and cake, then you don't need the coated optics, and you could put the vents in, improved ventilation. So you get, where is it? 5% to everything. So that's view range, aim time, everything. That'll be nice. Skills. What skills do you want on your crew in this tank? You can see I've got my high tier British medium tank crew in there, and they're all rewards of the campaign missions. So the female tank crew. So they all come with Sisterhood of Arms, and then I spent others. But if you were training up your crew for this, or what you want in here, you want Sixth Sense, that's it. You always want Sixth Sense. And then you want Smooth Ride. No, Snapshot, sorry. Smooth Ride comes off the driver, doesn't he? Because they will improve your accuracy, your initial accuracy when you start aiming in to shoot. Everything else, standard. You can either go with repairs or camouflage as you prefer. And then when you've got enough, bang in the Brotherhood of Arms for another 5% on everything. Free XP. Good news is you don't have to spend any. In fact, it generates more free XP because it generates more XP. More regular XP. So no need to worry about what you're going to buy with your free XP there, or what order to spend your XP and get through the stock grind. There is no stock grind. Comparing to other tanks, well, it's most comparable to the Centurion 1. In fact, it's almost identical, except the FV4202 has better terrain traverse and it has worse specific power, so it accelerates more slowly, and it's speed limited, of course, and its armor is slightly worse. So if you like the Centurion 1, you will probably like this tank for training your crews and earning big powers or credits. Compared to the Chinese medium T-34-2, the FV4202's gun handling is better, but its specific power is worse, and its armor is worse, and its DPM is worse. And it's very notable that the T-34-2 has a very nice turret, nice and rounded, hemispherical, with lots of armor on the front. T-54 first prototype, Russian Tier 8 premium medium tank. FV4202 gets better gun handling and get a better penetration. But it's worse with the DPM, it's worse speed, its specific power is worse, its armor is worse. So all in all, the T-54 first prototype is more versatile. Not as good on the old crest fighting, but everywhere else it's better. T-54 lightweight, the Russian Tier 8 light tank. FV4202's better accuracy with its gun, better terrain resistances, but it has worse DPM, actually has worse gun handling, worse specific power, worse speed, and I'd say worse armor. So all in all, it's another case of the lights are better than the mediums at pretty much everything, apart from crest fighting, of course. On all of these, compared to all the other tanks, the FV4202 has better gun depression. That's the thing that's going for it. Thinking of it as a premium tank, if you can't buy this for gold in the tech tree. I've just checked that. Have a look. No, you can't get it for gold in the tech tree. And it was a mission reward tank, but you can probably buy it in the shop, if not now, at some point, for some exorbitant fee. Would you want to buy it? If you want a tank to train, if you're going up the British medium tank line, yeah, it's definitely worth it for that. Train your crews up every time you hop tank up the ladder, and to get them good just to start with. You get a few skills into them. So 100% and then a few skills makes all the difference when you're popping into a new tank. It's bad enough having to deal with a grind, but dealing with an untrained crew, a poor crew who's at like 90% instead of 100, doesn't have any skills or perks, it's a lot easier. So yeah, I'd buy it for that. For training other British crews, yep, it's pretty good compared to the other British premiums. So I'd recommend it there. Buying it as a tank just to grind credits in, yeah, no, I wouldn't. I think there are better Tier 8 premium tanks for income. It loses out a lot of income compared to other premiums because it's so slow, and as I mentioned before, you don't get to clean up when your team's winning. So that cuts into your XP and credit wins, credit rewards. How to play this tank. 1. Don't go into cities where it's flat. Even if you find rumble to hide your hull, your turret is weak, you don't want to do that. You want to fight on the crests all the time. You want to fight on the crests. You've got reasonably good armor for fighting on the crests, just don't expect to bounce, tier 10 guns while you're doing it. And don't forget to move around or drop your spot, because artillery will find you a tempting target as you're quite slow, and if you keep on coming up to the same point on the ridge line where you can use your gun depression. That's where you get the win rate in this tank. Crest fighting. It's the only thing it's good at, and it's not very versatile, but being able to crest fight is a huge advantage for winning battles. You can use it to shore up a flank that's crumbling because the enemy's got better players or more tanks on that flank, so you can hold up a greater number of players and give your team the advantage elsewhere in numbers. You can fight at the front using crest fighting and weaken the enemy to a point where a breakthrough is possible. So it's very advantageous. It's only good at one thing, but that one thing is pretty good. You can also, follow up a push. I wouldn't. You're not really a breakthrough tank, you're just not fast enough. You'll soon lag behind the others if they start pushing forward. But once they hit problems again, you'll come up to the crest and start working the enemy over again. Ooh, premium tank crew members. That's another consideration when you got buying a premium tank. Has all of them apart from a radio man. So that's alright if you're going up the British medium line, because most of them don't have radio man anyway. But it's a consideration if you're training crews for other British lines. How did I do in this tank? Well, the overall win rate for this tank for all the players in the EU server is about 50%, which is okay. Me, I managed 65% after 100 battles. So I'm quite happy with this tank. That's a blue win rate. Very pleased. In summary, this tank gets the Dangerously Incompetent thumbs up. Good at crest fighting, poor at everything else, poor mobility, but the crest fighting is so advantageous you can use it to get a win rate, a nice win rate off it. So I would recommend this tank, especially if you're going up the British medium line.